Everyone is very welcome to join us here for the first workshop of our Fingal Active Club Challenge. We're delighted to have Dominic with us this evening, who's going to take us through some mobility and why it's important and so on. So what I'll do is, Dominic, I'll hang on here for a second, and if anyone else comes in, but I'll hand it over to you and you can get started. In the meantime, if anyone does have any questions or anything throughout the workshop, put them in the chat box, and then if we time at the end, we'll come to them as well. And then the last thing I suppose for me is just to let everybody know that this is being recorded, so you can watch it back later on. But also just so you're aware, if you wanted to turn the camera off, that's cool too.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Okay, Dominic, it's all yours.
Perfect. Can you can pin me there and make me into the center then, can you?
I can.
Or maybe I'll pin myself.
Yeah.
There we go. That's perfect. It's just if I do anything, it's easier. So everybody ready to start then? Yes or no? Yep. Thumbs up. Yep. Okay, so ready to go, guys. My name is Dominic Manelli. I suppose I wear a couple of hats. My main hat would be that I'm a sports scientist. I suppose the second hat is that I use the sports science, and myself and my wife used our sports science and our expertise in both of our different areas to write this book 3 years ago, which is a bit shiny there, but it's called Move, Train, Nourish, a sustainable way to a healthier you. And everything actually what we covered today or tonight is actually in that book as well. I'm also a personal trainer, and I have been doing that for the past over 20 years. And then also and myself and my wife are athletics coaches in our local athletics club, which we volunteer in, and we give a lot of our spare time over to that as well. So tonight, though, what we're going to go through is the importance of mobility. So just to give you kind of a basic understanding of what mobility is. Mobility is not just your ability to be flexible. Okay, so there's I think somebody else will accept that. It's not just your ability to be acceptable. It's both the ability to be both stable and flexible. So it's kind of like a seesaw. So we don't want to be the person that's just super bendy, and we don't want to be the person that's super kind of stiff. So what we're looking for is a nice balance between the two sides of being both stable and flexible. So that's a kind of a simple way of understanding mobility. As I said, it's not just about doing the yoga class. And the way we kind of break down mobility is that how you address your mobility, that's that stable and flexible side of things, is it's very easy to remember. We do what we call the 3 S's, okay? So for any area that we need to address, there'll be 4 main ones we'll go through tonight, and I'll explain why those 4 areas are very important. But how we address them is in 3 different ways. We stretch the area. We do soft tissue. That's like using tools like this, like massage balls and foam rolls. And then the last one is we strengthen. So we do the 3 S's, and I'll say that again. We stretch the area. We do some soft tissue and massage work on that area, and then we also stretch it. You generally have to do all 3. So that's why if somebody has a particularly tight area, which you will discover tonight, if you want to participate in any of this, it's really easy to do. You don't have to be in any fancy clothes to do anything of what I'll cover tonight. So generally, if you're working on any particular area or areas, it's the 3 S's, those 3 S's, and we're going to go through those 3 S's on 4 key areas of your body. And again, I'll just quickly explain why those key areas are important. So if we look at the body from the bottom all the way to the top, your body works in a chain, in a kind of a flip-floppy type fashion of being both stable and mobile. Okay, so to start off with, we start off with the ankle joint, which is a mobile joint. It needs a lot of range of motion. Okay, it needs a huge amount of range of motion. If that ankle does not get enough range of motion, where it's going to look for the range is in the stable joint above or below. Now it can't go any lower, so it has to be above when you look at the ankle. Okay, so if this guy, and we're going to test all these tonight, you can join and do all of this on these 4 key areas. Area number 1, if the ankle is not mobile, it's going to look for the mobility in the knee, because that's what's above it. This is a stable joint. It just likes open close. It's the hinge joint. It's like the elbow, okay? It doesn't like a lot of twisting and turning in that area. It likes a little, it just doesn't like a lot. So if the ankle's not mobile, it's going to look for in the stable joint, which is above it. Now we go mobile, stable. Remember, like I said, it's going to flip-flop. Now we're into the hip area, very important area. Your hip has to be mobile because it's obviously flip-flopping. So we went mobile, stable, mobile. Now in this hip, the hip needs to be able to go this way, and it also needs to be able to go this way. So we have two things we need to concern ourselves is what's the mobility like around those thighs and what's the mobility like around the glutes. Those are, again, two very, very key areas. If the hip joint is not mobile and has plenty of range, which we will test tonight, then it's going to look for the range in a stable joint. We know as well now, because I said this already, it's going to look for either above or below. Okay, so below again would be the knee. So if the hip is not mobile, it's going to look for that mobility in another area. Okay, so it's going to be either the knee or the lower back. And if you're asking a stable joint to become a mobile joint, you're always going to have problems in that area. So this is why when somebody comes to us and they say, I have a problem with my knee, I go, well, did you fall on your knee? They go, no, I didn't actually. So I would generally not look at the knee as being the issue. I would look at above or below that area to find out, is an area above or below that lacking mobility? And it's an easy way to test for it. And we can all do this. Okay, last area is upper back, your thoracic spine. Again, a very big area we need to kind of stay mobile in as well. And we're going to test that also. Okay, those are our 4 key areas. Just to remind you, you get the ankle, you get the hip, you get the front side, back side of the hip, and then you get your T-spine. And that needs to be able to, extend, flex. We probably don't need a lot more flexion in that T-spine. And then, as I said, in the hip, you've got 2 parts to that. Okay, so if there's no questions so far, if you can type them in and somebody can call them out as we go along if you want. One of the guys from Fingal can do that. We're going to crack on. So we're going to start on the ankle joint. Most of this, if you have simple tools with you tonight, such as foam roll, such as a ball, I prefer the bigger ones. Some of them will come in smaller versions that look like a hard tennis ball. Those are very good mobility tools. And the next thing I will use is a band. Okay, this one was, all those I got from an Irish company called Black Roll, B-L-A-C-K, R-O-L-L, Black Roll. All their gear is very, very good. They also sell these little, I don't make anything from this, I just love their stuff. They also do these little mini bands, which are really, really key for working in on the glutes then as well. Okay, and again, we'll show you why these things are really useful. You don't need a lot of equipment. So we're going to go through test number 1. If anybody wants to join in, again, as I said, it's really, really easy. Okay, so I'm going to go silent so you can see this first. So test number 1 is to look at what's going on in the ankle joint. So very simply, I just go on to all fours, and I'm going to go into a dog down position. So I'm going to do it first, and then you guys got to stop and maybe check that yourself. Okay, but please watch me first. I'm going to take me about 30 seconds to do this, and then I'll give you a second to stop and check them. If you are going to do it and you want me to look at you, put your camera on the floor and step as far back away from that camera as you can, and I might be able to see you. Okay? So I go on to all fours, and then in that position, just have a look first, don't join in straight away. In that position, my knee should be underneath my hip, my hands should be underneath my shoulders, and very simply, I'm going to go into this position, which is a downward facing dog. In this position, my head should be in between my arms. Ideally, now we're looking at the ankles, is the heel should be firmly on the floor. Okay, you want to be really honest about it. You take your shoes off. Okay, so my heels should be on the floor, so you can see my heels are on the floor. So that's I've passed the test on that. Okay, so if you want to check that, you can go ahead and check on that. I'll see if anybody is actually going and doing it there. Yeah, we got somebody in pink there doing it. So she goes into dog down position. And then just make sure that your heels are in view so I can see what's going on with your heels. Head should be deep in between the arms, and the back ideally should be straight. And that's a kind of a pass or a fail on that. Okay, it wouldn't be a fail, it's just where you're at. Okay, so if you've checked that and you can see, oh, you know what, my heels could do with being a bit firmer on the floor, the solution for that is really simple. So we take our foam roll out. You can rest from the dog down position then if you're in dog down. And the solution for that is I take my foam roll. Yeah, I can see a couple of people doing the dog down position there. So the solution for that is I take my foam roll out and then I massage out the calves. Okay. Now there's 2 main ways. There's actually kind of 3 main ways you like to do it. I'm going to go through my favorite. but I'm going to go through the standard way first because this is what you'll see people doing mostly. Okay, so you sit on the floor. Just make sure if you're on the floor, don't go on a mat when you're doing the calves because you need to be able to kind of basically rub your bum across the ground. Because if I have to lift off, it's very hard to support myself like this and then roll because my arms are just going to tire out quicker than my calves. So I want my bum to be able to just slide. So feel like I'm not lifting my bum off the ground and I'm crossing one foot over the other. Okay. If that's too much for you, you put both feet together. Okay. And then you roll the calves like that. Okay. And then you work on different aspects of the calves. So particularly in this area, I might turn the toe out a little bit. Again, I've got one foot over the other and I massage at your calves like that. But don't forget to turn the foot at different angles to work on your calves. If you have never done foam rolling before, I'm going to continue foam rolling and you can do that too. Swap legs at some point. If you've never done foam rolling before, what basically you're doing is, like I mentioned at the start, is you're doing some soft tissue work. And the purpose of the soft tissue work, join in if you have a foam roll, don't just sit there. The purpose of the foam roll is to improve the tissue quality, okay? So you're basically giving yourself a self-massage. Is it the solution if you have, let's say, tight calves? No, it's not. Because, again, you must come back to the 3 S's. You need to do the soft tissue work, you need to strengthen it, and you need to stretch it. Now, the stretch is what you've done already. It's a downwards dog position, and that's also acts as our assessment to see if we can get the heel on the floor, okay? So that's one way to work on the calves. It's not my favorite way, okay? Because I don't like people having to support themselves like that. This is my favorite way. So I take my foam roll and I go into a kneeling position. And I've got an even more favorite way coming down in a second. So we sit on the foam roll and I'm in that position. I don't have to use my hands at all. So all I got to do now is I just shift my butt from side to side. And that's going to massage my calves. Now, while I'm massaging the calves, that's in a particular area of the calves, okay? But that might not be where I'm tight. I might need to go up here, so sit it up a little bit higher. Oh, God, that's where I need it now. And then I mash the calves from side to side. And if you try that straight away, you'll feel it in the calves. It's still not my favorite way. My favorite way is using a very expensive piece of equipment now, guys. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to buy this, but this is a shovel handle. A very simple shovel handle. So thanks to our sponsors over at Woody's, we got ourselves a shovel handle. And now look, press down on it, give it a little massage. Could be a broom handle. Anything that's pretty thick though, don't use anything that's too skinny. Okay, and then I can mash it and really get it in on the calves then as well. What I love a shovel handle as well is what we can do is we can slip our shoes off, put my foot up on it like this. I'm going to pretend I've just taken my shoes off. And then I can massage out the base of my feet. Then that will help to kind of prevent things like plantar fasciitis, any of those sort of issues that again exist within the kind of the foot area. Okay, so if you're in dog down position and you find that the calves are a little bit tight because you can't get your heels in the floor, the solution for that, some of it is upper back, but some of it is the fact that you can't get the heels down is related to the calves being quite tight. Okay, the easiest way I find to massage them is to use a dowel or a foam roll, and then, as I said, with the foam roll, you can have it out in front or you can sit on it. It depends on the thickness of your foam roll. If you have a very thick one like that, it's kind of, I find it a little hard to sit on and mash from side to side. So personally, I would probably use the dowel. Okay, and again, that's like €7 in Woody's. This is about maybe €15. None of this is expensive. Okay. Here's another solution also as well for your dog down position. If you're in a dog down position and you find that your heels are miles off the floor, okay, what you simply do is you elevate your hands, and that will make it easier for you to feel what you should feel in that way. So you can use a foam roll, or what you can also use, again, super cheap piece of equipment. I'll just grab them here, is a pair of yoga blocks. So let's say I'm in dog down. I'll kind of demonstrate. You should be able to see my heels in this position. So I'm in dog down, and I'm kind of going, oh God, my heels are really high off the ground, so I can't get my heels down. My head won't go through. So if I elevate my hands, that shifts my weight backwards, and it's much, much easier to feel that correct position. This is why, if you've got very tight ankles, you'll go to yoga class. And if you can't get your heels down on the ground, you'll be miserable for the entire class because you're essentially putting all the weight forwards onto your shoulders the whole time, and it makes it extremely uncomfortable. Okay, so you take your yoga blocks or your foam roll. I'll show you how to use the foam roll in a second. One on each, hands down, head in, and bingo bango. Look at that. I can get my back a bit straighter, my bum will stay a bit higher, and the heels will go on the floor. If I'm using a foam roll, hold the side. The foam roll has a little handy hole inside. It's the exact same thing. Okay, so I have clients that I work with that are in their 60s and 70s, and that's how we do the downward dog position. I'd always elevate their hands a little bit because it's much, much easier for them to shift their weight back into the heels and get where they need to stretch in that area. They'll get a bit of calves, they'll get a bit of hamstrings, and it's an easy way of working on that. So that's one other thing. So if you're then wanting to strengthen that, what I would simply do is some calf raises. Okay, now you can do your calf raises in the dog down position. So I'm here, I'm going up and down, or you get yourself, here's another handy way you can use your yoga blocks, bring them together. I'm going to go to standing there, so my head might go out of frame for a second. I go onto my yoga blocks. This could be a step on the stairs, and I can go up and down, up and down. And all of these drills we're going to go through tonight, there's not that many. There's only 4, remember, okay? And there is a core test as well we need to go through. That's a simple way I can work then on strengthening the calves. So remember, we must do all 3, okay? So, and why all of this is important is that a mobile area, an area that has both a balance between being flexible and stable, will make all activities much more comfortable as compared to areas that are weak and stiff. So if you have areas that are very tight and stiff, they're generally actually quite weak in that area. So it's a bit like saying, hey, I want you to drive that car. This is the body is the car, and you're driving around with the handbrake half on the whole time. You've got the power there. You've got the power to be able to do what you need to do in your daily life or your sport. But if you've got that handbrake on the whole time, you can't express that power. Okay, so it's another easy way of understanding mobility, that it's like trying to drive the car with handbrake on if you've got a body that's stiff, tight, and then it's probably going to be a bit weak in all the wrong areas as well. So test that. Heels should be on the floor. If it feels really tight, you need to foam roll that area. Now, of the 4 areas we're going to test tonight, and a bit of core, there will be one, I guarantee, for every single person that you'll find much harder than the other test. And that's the one you need to get after a little bit more, okay? So you do a little bit on some of the areas, but the one you feel like, geez, I'm really bad on that one, that's the one you need to get after. So if you're like dog down, you're like, no problem, pass that test, bingo, we're on to the next one. We're on to hips next, okay? Now remember, ask questions in the little chat box along the way if you want. Otherwise, I'm going to crack on. Okay, so test number 2, we're testing now the glutes. So we again go back onto all 4s. I'm going to have my hands out in front. I'm going to go right knee to right hand, okay? It must go to the right hand. It is not to go in the center. I'm going to go front on, so it's easier to see. So my hands here. I don't want the knee over here, okay? So a lot of people do like a glute stretch like this, and then they kind of go, yeah, that's my glute stretch. That's not a glute stretch. So I need to go right knee to right hand, and then I'm going to shift to the right and use my left hand, and that foot should be straight across the body, and that's a pass. Then once I'm there, I can drop down into that. Okay, so the shin needs to be straight across, and we drop down, and then test that on both sides. So if you guys want to go and test that now, I should be able to see some people there doing that. So yeah, I can see Noelle there is hitting a pigeon stretch. Yeah, you don't have to stick your camera on to do it, but it does help me see what you're doing, okay? I can see Nula's doing it there. She's testing on both sides. And then again, what we're looking for is for the foot to be straight across. If you're in a chair, watch this, guys. This is what we do when we're doing corporate work. If you're in a chair, okay, not everybody in work can do this. It can be lying on the floor. So what we do is we say to people, get your foot up onto your knee like this. If that knee is winking up at you, you got an issue with that glute. The knee should be in line with that foot, in line with that foot. So if I bowed forward a little bit, it would drop down a little bit. If you don't, then we need to get a bit of soft tissue work in that glute area. So you test both sides and see where you're at on both sides. Again, today is not about you getting a workout in. Today is about for you to understand your body to find out where do you need to work on, okay? So let's pretend that you've got like a tight glute in that area. The solution for that is you take your ball. This is a 12 centimeter ball. I prefer the bigger ones. And we got to pop that in the old gluteal area, okay? So I'm going to go onto my elbow like this. So pop the ball in on the side of my butt. I go onto my elbow. Don't go on your hand. Okay, so again, now we're into issues with having to hold yourself up more with your hands. I go onto the elbow. I'm on my left elbow because it's in on my left glute. And you can see it's in, think of where your back pocket is, and it's the side of the back pocket. The side of the back pocket. Notice my knee is bent. It's not straight. We want to bend that knee, okay? And then if you want to get really kind of aggressive in on there, what you do is you take this foot, you cross it up onto the, oh, big God, right there. That's where I need it, right there. And I get that knee up, foot up on that knee, and I can really get it in on the glutes there now. Remember, if you've never done this before, especially on the glutes, what I would suggest is you take a little ball, you can get, these are, you go to Pet Shop, okay? So remember, you don't have to buy something that is, going to cost. What you can go and do is watch. I brought one in there. Obviously, it's a mind its own wants to run away. You get one of these fellas, okay? That's about €4 or €5 in a pet shop. It's a rubber ball for a dog, okay? Get one of those fellas. I'm going to do it against the wall. I'm not going to be out of frame, so I'm not going to stand, but you normally would stand for this. You pop it in on the glute, and you work that ball in on that glute area to work in on that piriformis again. That should be done on both sides, but maybe you might find that one side is tighter than the other. It's quite normal. But your test and retest is again that pigeon stretch. Shin straight across the body, test both sides. Physically use your hand. This is not correct. This foot should be up and across. Once I go down, I don't want to lean over. If I'm testing the left, I don't lean to the left. I lean to the right. Okay, very important. And then in that position, just a simple point on stretching as well, guys. And like I teach live 6 days a week, okay? We do a mixture of 2 different days in our training sessions. We do 3 what's called go days and 3 slow days. So we need variation in exercise where you have days where you work a little bit harder and days where it's mainly working on mobility or accessory work, kind of like what we're doing here right now. When we stretch, it's very important that you do what we call some contract and relax, the relaxed stretches. So you notice as an in pigeon, I'm not just going to stay there. What's going to happen is I'm going to do some contractions. So I'm not just waiting for this moment where you just let go into it. That's not how your muscles work. So you have receptors in your muscles that tell you how far is too far. If we contract that muscle that I'm stretching right now, it'll allow me to go a bit deeper. So if you watch what I'm going to do right now, I'm not really going to use my hands. So you can see my hands are not doing this. I'm going to push my foot, my shin, my knee into the floor. That's going to raise my hip up. I'm going to move my hands out of the way so you can see. So I'm going to press that down and then I relax. I'm pressing all of this into the floor. I press down and relax. And you'll start to see my hip sink down more as I do that. I press down and I relax. And as I get into it, what I should find then is there's less resistance to it. And I can work my hip down. My hip is now almost touching my ankle. And then I can drop down into it even deeper. Okay? So in every stretch, it wouldn't matter if you're doing it. That looks quite advanced. It's not. Please don't think it's like that. Look, I'm back onto my chair. Easy version. Oh, Dominic, my knee is sticking up an awful lot. Put your hand on it. Push your knee up into your hand. Push, and then let it relax down. Push it up hard for 5 seconds, and then it should free it up to let it drop a little bit more, okay? So just remember, do your contract and relax, and that can be done on almost all stretches. Now, there's a little question here, so I'm going to quickly check that. We've got 2 more areas to get through. Can you show this from the side also, the floor version? Of course I can. And let me close that then. Okay, so if I'm on the, go side on, generally I'd always show things front on because I find it easier to show. But if I go side on, I'm going right knee to right hand, remember? Lean, foot up and across, and the foot is in line with the knee. That's ideal, okay? So that's where it should be. Okay, that's normal flexibility. Okay, that doesn't represent, oh my God, your flexibility is amazing. You ask any kid to do this, generally they can do that. Another thing the kid can do, this is actually a very good test for your mobility, is, this was in our book. A lot of people are a bit shocked by this one, but I'll show it to you anyway. This is used, and once, if you can pass this test with no problems, there's studies have shown you live 6 to 8 years longer than the average person. You need to come to standing without putting your hands or your knees on the ground. And the better you get at that, the better your strength, and that's a factor of mobility, is in that hip area, which helps with trips and falls, improves your overall bodily strength, which is vital as we get older. I should be able to come to standing, not put my knees or my hands on the floor, push into my legs, and I push to standing, and I should be able to go back down without using my hands or my knees on the ground. Because most people do this and this and this and this to go back down. But if I can do that, and that's been shown in multiple different studies, but you need, again, that not only flexibility in the hip, because now we need to be able to push. We need that strength in as well. Okay, so you can give that a go in your own time if you want. But again, you need that strength in that area, but it's a nice way of kind of checking where you're at. So we've gone through how to stretch that glute area. We've gone through how to do the soft tissue work, which is our ball. Now we need to go through our strengthening of that area. Okay, this is where things like bands can come in. I'm not going to use it straight away because I will always want to give people things that are easy to do without any equipment. So to strengthen the glute area, a very simple thing is a glute bridge. So I lie on my back, I dig only the heel into the floor, not the whole foot, because people end up using the calf too much, just the heel. And then I need to press my lower back into the floor. So see that gap here? I need to do this, watch. I need to press my back into the floor. That's the correct start position. And then I drive my hips up and down, or you can even just do a hold. So you can just hold that position. But what we're looking for is the hip, the knee, and the shoulder to be in one line, okay? And I do that maybe 8 to 15 reps on each leg, okay? If that's too much, you put both heels on the floor, and you do like both legs at the same time, which should be a little bit easier, okay? That's one way of working on it. The second way, this is probably one of my favorite ways, is I get a foam roll. Very good test here on this one as well. So I get a foam roll. I can see Noelle is doing it there. Noelle, you can get your hips up a bit higher there. Go on, get those hips right up. There she is. That's better. But just make sure, as you can see Noelle working in the background there, you want to make sure she doesn't overextend the lower back. So when she reaches the top, the back shouldn't arch more. It should stay flat. So when she goes back down and the bum touches the ground, the back shouldn't overextend. So you need to kind of check when your bum touches the ground, is the arch creeping back in here again? It should be back to the floor, okay? Another very good way is you put your feet up on your foam roll, okay, like this. And then in that position, and move away from the foam roll. So my knees are a little bit more straight than they are bent. And then in this position, again, just have a quick look. I bridge up and I start rocking with the foam roll. Now, if your hamstrings and glutes are all strong, I should be able to do that rocking, very gentle, with a single leg. And that's, again, another good test. So I rock away, that's it. And Noelle, can you do that with one leg? I'm sure she can still hear me there. So she takes one leg off and she tries to continue rocking. Ah, there we go. That's it. Now, the minute she took that leg off, she probably feel it a little bit more in the hamstrings. Try and keep the hips up a bit more there, Noelle. That's it. Star pupil right there. Okay. So that's your simple ways you can work on it. I can also use my mini band. You've got loads of ways you can work on the glutes, guys. Okay. Now, obviously, I could be doing lunges and squats and step-ups, but for some people, that's not appropriate straight away. You have to build a bit of strength in a specific area. So I can use my mini band. I love doing what I call a three-way glute work. I make sure my back is flat. It's not overextended. So I need to be here, not here. This is the correct position. And I go out to the side for about 10 reps, donkey kicks for 10 reps without moving that lower back. That lower back is not moving. This would be incorrect. Watch what I'm doing here. Okay, that is incorrect. Now there's two. You're asking the lower back to do a job it's not designed for. Then the third movement would be a pulse like this. Okay, so there's loads of different ways. I could then come to standing, I could sit into it and do a little X-band walk then as well. Okay, and I can use a mini band or a long band for that as well, for the X-band walk. So you've got a couple of different ways in which you can strengthen the glutes. And then this can all fit into like a 15, 20-minute routine, which focuses on these 4 main areas, okay? If there's no questions, remember you can type in as you go along. Some people, especially when it comes to the glute or the piriformis area we just covered there, what they may experience is kind of radiating pain on the leg or pain to the side of the knee. And a lot of that can have its origin in the glute area then as well. So this is why we test and retest, okay? So that's your pigeon stretch, or as I showed you, you can sit in a chair and very practically do it there as well. Okay, these things don't magically get better from just resting, by the way. So some people might have tight areas that are painful at that time. They're not going to go away magically. If an area is tight, it needs to be worked on. And the main 3 ways: stretch it, soft tissue, and strengthen. Okay, we're going on to area number 3. Okay, so I go into tell you what, I'm going to do the easiest version of this first. So you have to be able to do the first part first. So simple version on what's going on at the front of the thighs. You should be able to hold on to something, bring your back foot to your bone, and then pull the knee back a little bit. Okay, so if you're in this position and you struggle to kind of hold the knee at all, or sorry, hold the foot at all, and to bring it back at all, then we know, oh my God, those thighs need a lot of work, okay? So that's your step number 1. And for some people, especially if you've had any kind of knee surgery, that's probably going to be a tough one for you to do. So I don't expect the same range of motion than somebody who has had none of that going on, okay? The main test that we use is what's called a couch stretch, or I'm going to do kind of like a freestanding version, but I normally do it against the wall, but I'm going to do it this way because it's a bit easier to demonstrate. So I'm going into a lunge position. I should have something in front of me that allows me to balance a little bit there, because I'm going to need a bit of balance, okay? So again, before I do anything, I will be kicking that back foot up, but again, I tuck the pelvis under, so I want to be in this position. I don't want to be in this position. That is incorrect, okay? That's just going to yank on the front of my hip. I need the pelvis to be here, not here, okay? So we want the pelvis tucked. That's what we mean by tucking the pelvis. Then I'm going to push the hip in, and I should be able to bring that back foot onto my foot and push the front knee forward. And that's a pass on that. So it's the same thing on both sides. Check both sides. And then, as I said, I need to be able to tuck first, lunge in, back foot to butt, and then drive that front knee forward, okay? Test both sides. You should be able to hold it for about 15, 20 seconds on both sides. I'm going to have a look at Noelle there again. So she's my person. I should have probably picked out somebody easier, but Noelle's put herself in that position. That foot should be on your butt now, Noelle. So you try and pull it in a little bit closer if you can. And then that's it. For me, it's something you need to work on then. Noelle, could you just do that on the other side, if you don't mind? Okay. So we can probably see Noelle there in the pink at the top. And you can see, try and pull that right foot in a little bit more there. There you go, good. Now the right leg for Noelle there is not bad, okay? But Noelle, could you just do the left side again there, and you'll be able to see, everybody can see that. This is actually quite good to show people live. And then bring the knee forward, you can see left leg doesn't want to come up as much. Some of that's, the hamstrings need a bit of work on that left side, but definitely the quads or thighs on that left side is what's going on there. So you've got to take your foam roll out. So let's go. That's your stretch. So now we've got 2 things to work on. We need to soft tissue it. So we get onto a foam roll and we roll out those thighs all the way up and down. Okay. Now from there, we need to get down the side of the leg as much as you can. So it's going to be not bang on the side, more like a 45-degree angle. So especially if, let's say, we know Noelle was a bit tight on the left, I would try and stay on that left side a little bit more, okay? It doesn't have to be stacked up like this. I can put one leg out in front like that. That'll make it a bit easier. And then roll it from your hip to your knee. Get a good clean roll all the way up and down there, okay? So when you work on that, that will help free that area up and give a good, nice, deep massage, okay? Here's, keep going there. Here's where the shovel handle comes in handy as well. If I had tracksuit bottoms or leggings on here, it would work even better. I could take my shovel handle and I could do my self massage like this as well. Okay. Also, other tools that are quite helpful if you've got, very tight mobility is get one of these boys, massage gun, and that will help to massage out any of these areas. I'm not going to switch it on because it makes a bit of a buzz, and then I can use that to massage out those areas. Again, is it the solution? No, it's not. Okay, it's a bit like buying all these tools, but then not knowing where to work on. You want to know exactly where you need to work on. Okay, so there's no point in massaging out that thigh if you do nothing then to strengthen that position, because you haven't changed anything. You've changed the tissue quality. The quality is a little bit better. It's a bit softer and easier to massage, but the strength has not changed at all. You need to make sure that you strengthen it. Okay, so when it comes to the thighs, what we really need to focus on is the front and the back of the thigh, or the back of the hip. So let's say this is your hip joint here, and we know that the front of the thigh is tight. So what's happening then is the front of the thigh is being pulled forward. Now, if the front of the thigh gets pulled forward, what happens here? So this is really tight. So what's happening to the hip then is that this is happening. Now, the solution for that is a lot of work. It's definitely not doing more thigh work. Don't do that. It's a lot more work in the glutes and hamstrings to try and pull this back into position, and the core. The core will help to tip that back into the correct position. There are 2 core tests we go through. And again, this is all in our book, okay? All the tests, really well illustrated, well explained. Core test number 1 is what's called a hollow hold. Again, you might need to watch me first. So we're going to break it down. We go into all 4. We got line our back like we're upside down. We go bug. I sit up a little bit so my shoulders are off the floor. My arms are extended behind my head. And I try and straighten my legs out. And I try and hold so my legs are about maybe a foot off the ground. In that position, there can be no arch in your lower back. So you would start up here, and I lower, and ideal is to get to this point with no arch. So not breaking here. If, let's say, you get halfway down to here, you're going, oh, that's really hard for me to keep the arch in my back, then that's unfortunately not a pass. We need to work on that. So if we watch Noelle there again, so not watching me, she extends the legs up to the ceiling as much as she can, and then lowers down. And then I would get her to sit up a little bit more. So try and think about raising your shoulders off the floor a tiny bit more. That's better, but without the arms coming out in front. The arms are still behind your head. And hold for 10. Arms are behind your head, Noelle. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then she can relax. And the lower part of the back must stay on the floor, okay? Ideally though, where Noelle should be in that is, instead of the arms being here, they would be here, okay? Because we're taking more of our weight away from that midline, which makes it a little bit more of a challenge. Some people, if you try that for the first time, you'll find it challenging. So the way you modify that is I do this. I point them up towards the ceiling and I try and sit up. And I need to be able to do that first before I'm ready for here, okay? Another easy way is to have it like this. So I just bring one knee to my chest. I'm still sitting up, still sitting up, still sitting up, still sitting up. And that will allow you to kind of have the movement, but still feel it in the core. About 20-second hold is decent in that position, but the lower part of the back must stay on the floor. Again, for some people, like to lower all the way down like that, it's going to be really, really difficult, okay? And as I said, having the movement can make it a little bit easier. That's it. Well, hasn't it? Okay. That's one of the core tests. The second one is the following. We have to have 2 because both of them test things slightly differently. Okay.
All right, babe.
And somebody's jamming. That's okay. The second part is what's called a toes pointed plank. Now I'm going to go through normal plank and go through the mistakes in that. Then we're going to go through toes pointed plank. So normal plank will be here. Okay, again, I've got to tuck my pelvis under so my back is flat. This is not correct. That's what we call a broken position. Okay, so we've got to tuck the pelvis under, then I prop up, and we should have a straight line like that. Okay, so we need to see, hey, can the person do that to begin with? Okay, and the back should be perfectly flat. It shouldn't be up, it shouldn't be here, shouldn't be saggy. The knees should be straight, not bent. See, that's bent, that's straight. We need to be able to hold a dead straight line with everything being straight, okay? It's not the test though, okay? So Noelle, you can relax there for a second. So the test is actually this. So I go into a toes pointed plank, which will stop us from overusing our shoulders. So a lot of people, when they plank, they do stuff like this. They'll get up and they'll shrug up and they'll stay really tight like this. So they're not hanging on with the shoulders. What we're looking for is point your toes backwards, and then I get into the correct position. I tuck my pelvis under and I lift my knees off. My toes are now pointed. So I really have to press the feet into the floor to stay with that back flat position. And that's the test, okay? So remember, you have to obviously be able to do a normal plank first. 20 seconds is fine. You don't need to be doing 2-minute planks, okay? Once you can do a standard plank for like 20 seconds, you move into toes pointed plank and you test that, okay? So again, if you struggle in those positions, there's lots of other core exercises that you can use with a band. That's a very easy way of getting you to fire up your core. So here's a simple one. So if you're like, I don't want to be getting down off the ground and getting back up again, it's a pain. No problem, just use the band. Watch this, look. So I take my band, I'm gonna pretend I'm gonna attach it to like a banister or something like that. So I'm gonna attach it to my, now don't do this at home because I'm attaching it to a radiator, okay? Then I'm gonna come to standing or a half kneeling position, to be here or here. Take my hand, bring it into the center. Again, I tuck my pelvis under and I sit, and I can work on some stirring, some pulses, moving in and out, or a straight hold. And that's going to fire my core up. That's called a Pallof press. Every professional athlete you know, they're all doing those, okay? That's what's called an anti-rotation. So it stops any rotation. Remember, the lower back is a stable joint, so in order to work the core, the best core exercises are movements that force you to be stable in that area and holding and bracing, not moving. So the absolute worst core exercise most people can do to begin with would be a sit-up, okay? And the reason why is because we don't need more flexion in our life. Most people are already a little bit like this. They don't need to be encouraged to do more of that. So for me, when we coach, and as I said, I'm doing this 6 days a week live, okay? We rarely program things like sit-ups because we would consider it to be quite an advanced core exercise that needs a lot of things to be in line before a person can even do that. So focus on the Pallof press, which I just demonstrated with the band, your toes pointed plank, and your hollow hold, which was this one, and then another good one to test would be things like a side plank with a leg lift. So if you can kind of pass all those, remember, look, there's easy variations. Don't tell me like you can't do that, okay? I've got 7-year-old clients all doing stuff like this. And again, in our book, there's full 4-day programs with all of this included in it as well, okay? That's our core, and generally the core is a good fix for what's going on if you have tight thighs. Core and glutes are also a big factor there as well. The last thing I'm going to go through for the upper body is what we call a shoulder dislocate. Sounds like a weird name, but I'm just going to grab my band. I'll do it sitting down so it's easy to see. So take a band. This could be my dowel as well. Both work. And then in that position, I need to be able to roll over and back without anything too funky going on with the shoulders. So if I get to here and then this starts to happen, I know there's an issue on the shoulder on that side. So there shouldn't be anything funky going on. If I want to make it tighter, I can just wrap up one end and I should be able to roll over and back without any major dysfunction. Or breaking at the elbow or anything like that. So shoulders are very complex. There's a lot going on in it, but the main 2 things that we would do for getting people to work in on the shoulders to massage it would be to, first of all, would be to roll your upper back, which is like this. And then the next big thing when you do roll is that check what the lats are rolled. So if you lie on your side like this, and I put it in by my armpit, and if you're rolling like this and you're like, oh my God, in there I've just found a big bag of marbles, then that's what you need to work in on. And that's going to allow you to free up and have a bit more range in that shoulder, okay? So lats generally for a lot of people are tight. The second main area is you take your foam roll, or you can use a ball for this and do it standing up facing the wall. So I'm leave my foam roll out in front like this. I put my hand on my back, I pop it right in on the chest and the shoulder, just as the pec attaches into the shoulder, and I massage out the front of that shoulder. Because again, if the shoulders are stuck in this position, and then you're asking for good range of motion in those shoulders, it's just not going to happen. We've questioned there. Feel free to put, oh yeah, somebody else saying, feel free to put any questions in the box. So if you free up those areas by working on your lats and working on your pecs, you should find the shoulder dislocate becomes a bit easier. This is why you will see tennis players, golfers, they'll do a lot of stuff like this to kind of get a bit of range in on the shoulders to start off with. Again, you don't have to kind of do anything too crazy to begin with. Bit of foam rolling will work. If you find it hard to get down and foam roll like that, I'd strongly recommend, as I said, getting a thing like a ball. You can go up against the wall, work it in on the pecs. So I'm not obviously using my hand with the ball. I got to put it against the wall and push into the wall, and I work in around the rotators as well. So I pop that in around the back. Again, this is €4 or €5 you'll get in a pet shop. They'll all have hard rubber balls. Okay. You want the bigger one, that's a 12-centimeter ball. That the main reason why we get one of those is for the glute. So if you find that like your glute is really tight, and you'll know because if your knees are winking up at you, even when you're sitting on the floor like this, you've definitely got tight glutes. And again, these areas don't kind of magically improve on their own. You have to work on them. Ultimately, what we want from doing a little bit of mobility work is, as I said, to make all activity that you like to do more pleasurable, or that you can continue to do it. Okay. What I regularly see in the practice, I've been working as a personal trainer for over 20 years, is I've often seen fit enough. Okay. See lots of fit people. Okay. Great conditioning, can run, swim, cycle, whatever. Okay. Play their sport. I've often seen strong enough. So guys and girls that come in and the muscles are really strong, but I rarely see mobile enough. I rarely see the point where, as I said, people can go from a sitting to a standing position without using their hands or their knees, can simply reach out and touch their toes quite comfortably. Like basic sort of ranges of mobility. We've tested the areas that we want you to be mobile in, which are, as I mentioned, the ankle, both sides of the hip, front and back side of the hip, and the T-spine. If those areas don't receive that mobility, they are going to look for it in stable areas. That's just how your body works. It's no different in your man or a woman. It's the exact same, okay? If you have specific areas that you need work on, some of that will have been revealed from today, and that's where you need to pay attention to, okay? If people have questions, type them in. This is the part where you kind of go, hey, I have a question about this, or how long should this be? About 10, 15 minutes every day. It doesn't take long, okay? Type in your questions, guys, and I'll let anybody, one of the guys maybe from Fingal could ask them if he wants there as well, or I can read them out. Thanks, Noelle, there for acting as a demo girl. That was amazing. Good job. You can actually unmute yourself if you want to ask a question there. It might be quicker as opposed to having to type it in then as well. Noelle, you can maybe interact with me for a second. Do you do any yoga, Noelle? You can take yourself off mute if you want there. Find the button. Maybe I can do it actually for you. I'll just ask to unmute. There we go.
Okay, got it.
There you go, Noelle.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I do. How did you find that, Noelle?
Yeah, it was great. The only thing is I was a bit confused. I wasn't sure if it was a class that we were supposed to be doing everything that you were doing. And my laptop wouldn't work for me. So I'm on my phone and it's a little bit hard for me to see everything properly. And the sound for me wasn't great either on my phone. When I get the laptop up and I hope it'll be a bit better. But it's very good. It's great. It makes sense.
Yeah, and everything that we covered here tonight, guys, is recorded. So you can just watch this back. There's mainly that kind of middle section of about maybe a half an hour that you need to kind of focus on. But hopefully what you guys get is that you can kind of run through it and find where you need to work on. Like Noelle, you could see there the left side of the thigh when you went into that position needed a bit more work than the right. Yet on your pigeon stretch on both sides and your dog down position on both sides, you were pretty solid. Yes or no?
It's a bit sore on my left knee. I have trouble with my left knee. All right, like
Yeah, and then some of that is because the left quad, the thigh, needs to be massaged out. So if we can take the pressure off that knee by doing more work on the thigh, doing your core work and doing your glute work, especially on that left side, it would actually take a lot of the pressure off that as well. It's not going to fix that, but it can definitely make things a little bit more comfortable for you, you know?
Good stuff.
No problem. Well, I think there was a question there. Maybe I'll have a quick look.
Dominic, can you hear me?
I can, yes, fire ahead there.
My name is Mary, and it tells me I can't turn on my camera. It said that I need to select another video camera.
That's okay. Have you got a question there, Mary?
No, well, I'm very new to all of this, and I'm very interested, and it was very good, and thank you very much. But I don't have any of the equipment, so I'm going to purchase some of the equipment.
Yeah, so the people I recommend for that, you can get them in local suppliers as well. But if you go online, and the company I've used for the last while is a company called Black Roll, and they make these guys. Okay, and it's just a simple foam roll. They also sell longer bands, which again, if let's say a person was to do only 1 or 2 kind of especially upper body exercises for the rest of their life, okay, this would be the most important one of them, okay, and it's called a band pull apart. I go from here to here, and the purpose of that is to strengthen my upper back. So I use one of the bands and I go to the ends and I work on pulling the band apart without bending my elbows, and that will help to strengthen the upper back. I combine that with the core work we've done tonight and any of the other stuff that we've done, and then it becomes like a little 15-20 minute routine that you can kind of do. And that is, as I said, it's included in our book as well.
What's the name of your book? What's the name of your book?
Yes, very good question. The name of our book is this one right here, and it's called Move, Train, Nourish.
Okay.
A healthier way, a sustainable way to a healthier you. So yeah, it's
Can you buy it in the bookshops?
Yes, you can. Yeah, in Eason's, and you can get it online, or get it as a Kindle book.
Okay.
Well.
Okay. How much is it?
I think it's normally about between 15 and 20 euros.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Yeah, it's 3 years old, and you know, it's got over 60 5-star reviews on Amazon, if that's anything to go by.
Oh, very good.
So,
very good.
Any other questions there? Well, I think there was some question there. And so somebody says here, that's exactly what we need this evening. We're just taking up gymnastics. Wonderful. And enjoying rounders and tennis last week. So again, it's so important that people are out using the mobility for something then as well. And also just keep in mind, guys, as I mentioned earlier, that the better mobility is, then it makes any activity that you do more sustainable, that you can do it for a longer period of time, because we're not picking up injuries, we're discovering where we need to work on. And most of us will have to work on that for forever. It's not like you do a bit of mobility work for like 2 weeks, and it needs to become part of the routine of the normal practice, you know. So that could be done either before an activity or after an activity or on a separate day. And as I said, it doesn't take a long time at all. You know, you're talking about a routine of about maybe 15-20 minutes, and then using the 3 S's: stretch it, soft tissue, and strengthen. 1, 2, 3. Last couple of questions there. Oh, we have another one in. I have some knee issues on runs and have now identified very tight glutes. Brilliant. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay. Does the book include strengthening exercises naturally flexible? Brilliant. Again, see, there's what we touched on. Okay, so I'm going to touch on the first thing first. Okay, so one is that we should become our own physio. Okay, really important. So you do the test, you'll find out what you need to work on. It's really that simple. Okay, there's no guesswork. There's no like, oh, I don't know, maybe I need more fish oils. It's not a case of that. It's a case of, if you've got tight areas, they're not going to go away. You've got to work on them. Okay, it makes everything much easier. What was the second part of that as well now? So let me read that question again. Sorry. Where's my chat gone? Oh, I'm after losing it now. Oh, there it is. There it is. Sorry, the chat. Does it include strengthening exercises? But have no strength. Okay, lazy, too much Netflix. That goes for everybody. But remember, you can do this in front of the TV too. Okay, so yes, if you click through a book, what you'll find is you'll have, I'll just bring this forward so you can see, you'll have an entire day illustrated. And look, do some deadlifts, do some push-ups off a box or table, power press I illustrated, that's a plank, and then that's some normal planks down as well, or the toes pointed plank. So some of this we already did there tonight. So as I said, a lot of it, or sorry, all of it is very well explained in the book, and it also breaks down lots of other areas. It's full of recipes. My wife deals with the importance of sleep and the importance of resilience. And then we also go over how to improve your overall conditioning and why your fitness is not just your capacity to have your heart rate elevated. It's the 3 tenets of fitness are your mobility, your strength, and your conditioning. It's got to be all 3. They're like legs of a table. Okay, our 4th is again the areas my wife specializes in, which are that stress, resilience, sleep, all those big areas. And then that allows for better. The other S is that social connection then as well. So we were able to spend time with others and be able to enjoy it because our bodies are fitter and healthier. Okay. Any last questions, guys? I know.
Can I just ask? I always had trouble, even when I was younger, if say sitting on the ground and trying to touch my toes.
Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my back I don't know if there's tightness in my back. I mean, I do a lot of dancing and I'm, quite fit, but just that flexibility was never there.
Yeah. So what I would do is test your dog down position, which we did at the very start. So I go into this position, and then in that position, my heels should be on the floor. If the heels are not firmly on the floor, then you need to work in on the calves. If the heels are firmly on the floor and you're like, actually, I don't have a problem in that area, then it's as you're bowing forwards, what you might need to do is I'll just show you a set of yoga blocks here because it's a natural little platform. So I sit on a yoga block, sit on the yoga block on each side, and I need to be able to bow forwards from the waist. So I'm not bowing forwards from the arms like this. I'm doing this. So I'm bowing forwards from the waist, not from the shoulders. So that's kind of an easy way that you can work on building some hamstring flexibility into that area. Some of it's strength as well, that you need to strengthen that hamstring area as well, which we covered with doing the glute bridges, doing rolling. And some of it's just practice, that you need to kind of do it often enough to improve at it. One thing we've noticed in the last year from teaching live every day is that all the people we've worked with have said to us they've never improved their mobility so much in the last year simply by doing our workouts, because it affords them the chance to work at these things a little bit more often. So sometimes when people say, I can't touch my toes, you're like, well, you've got to practice it too. It's like any skill. But just make sure if you do practice, you can, as I said, jack your hips up can help. Also, if you elevate your foot, so if I'm in this position, I then can bow forwards from the waist in that position. And then while you're doing any of those stretches, what you also then need to do is do your contractions as well. So as I bow forwards, I can push my heel into the floor. That'll then strengthen my hamstrings, and that'll allow me to more comfortably go into that position. So when you're stretching, there should be some contracting and relaxing going on. It's called PNF stretching going on as well. But a lot of it is practice, but it's also looking at all the tests and seeing what's limiting you. Because sometimes when you're doing those forward bends, it's not maybe the hamstrings that are the issue. As I explained earlier, if let's say the hip is tight, the front of the hip, that's going to pull this forward. So the hamstrings now feel tight, but the actual cause of that is the thighs being unnaturally tight. So you need to go through the tests to find out what's going on.
Thank you.
No problem at all. I think there was somebody else trying to jump in there as well. Any other questions? You can take yourself off mute if you want, guys, and just ask away.
Is it normal for this to hurt initially when you're using the roller, and can it do any damage?
No, can't do any damage, no. So is it normal to hurt? Yeah, it is normal to hurt. But like, again, I handed out tons of foam rolls, which we did in our athletics club there a couple of weeks ago to all our kids. Not one kid is telling me that, so it's normal because the areas you're working on are extremely tight. And there's only one way of going through that, and it's by doing it again and again and again and again and again. But just make sure that if let's say you do some foam rolling, you don't need to do foam roll for like 5 minutes on an area. You just need to do it like for 30 seconds and go through the stretches and strengthening for that area then as well. And then that will layer one upon the other. And after about 2 or 3 weeks, you should find that the foam rolling is a little bit easier. But you might find that like anytime you roll your calves like this, that you're always like, jeez, my calves are always really tight. That's just, you won that genetic lottery for tight calves, okay? But that's okay. You just have to work on that a little bit more. It does get better, but I would say it becomes minorly less miserable for some people. So it doesn't get to the point where like, oh my God, this feels like I'm doing nothing now. It just becomes the point where like, yeah, I'm fine doing it. It doesn't feel easy, but I feel like it's doing me some good. And I know my muscle tissue quality improves when I do that. But yeah, that was a good question. It isn't easy to start off with, no, you know, but exercise can be a bit like that to begin with. It's a little bit, you know, tough and challenging. But what you should generally feel is the next day things start to feel better. Like you just have a little bit more pop. You're able to move a little bit better. Going up and down stairs becomes easier. Getting in and out of the car is easier. Just your general kind of feeling of stiffness will improve. But mobility can be a little bit slow to begin with. But it within like 2 weeks, you should see big changes in terms of your overall range of motion.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Last question, anybody there for the takers? No? Yes? So just as a reminder, guys, as I said, get your stuff from Black Roll if you want. Our book is called Move, Train, Nourish. I would like to thank Fingal for this brilliant opportunity to be able to reach out to so many different people and help you understand that mobility is that perfect balance between being both flexible and stable. If you have any questions, our website is really easy. It's called thisistheway.ie, and it's very easy to look us up. And if you need any more specific help, you can get in touch. As I said, I teach live 6 days a week. We do a mixture of easy days, which are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then harder days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we do days very like what we've just covered today on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We always do kind of a mixture of each. Otherwise, pick up our book, Move, Train, Nourish, and thanks for sitting around and watching it on your Thursday evening. Really appreciate your time, guys. And that's me done. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a million. All the best.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
That was very